Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Earthquake.
Oh, it's an earthquake, Bob. That's not. It's not actually an earthquake. I'm actually okay. I know I may have startled you. That looks very realistic.
Yeah, and you know what? If I'd cast the spell Earthquake, you'd probably still be okay.
Yeah, that's fair. So, earthquake is an 8th level spell. It is available to some classes, cleric, druid, and sorcerer. It's got a 500-foot range, which is a very large range. It requires verbal static material components, which is a pinch of dirt, a piece of rock, and a lump of clay. Very neat. You create a seismic disturbance at a point on the ground that you can see within range. For the duration, an intense tremor rips through the ground in a 100-foot radius circle centered on that point and shakes creatures and structures in contact with the ground into the area. Shake is a very generous word because, oh, no, not very generous, a very apt word for what happens to the creatures because it really is just like a the ground in the area becomes difficult terrain. Each creature on the ground that is concentrating makes a concentration saving throw. On a failed save, the concentration is broken. That's pretty cool. Notably, the spell is concentration per minute, so you concentrate on this effect. The ground in the area becomes difficult terrain. I already read that. Whenever you cast the spell, at the end of each turn, you spend concentrating on each creature on the ground in the area makes a dex save. On a failed save, they're knocked prone. So they get up, they keep going down over and over and over again. The spell can have additional effects depending on the terrain in the area as determined by the GM, which does a lot of heavy lifting and making the spell not utter trash. That also has these effects. It makes fissures open throughout the spell's area at the start of your next turn after you cast the spell. A total of 1d6 fissures open in locations chosen by the DM. Each is 1d10 times 10 feet deep, 10 feet wide, and extend from one edge of the spell's area to the opposite side. A creature standing on a spot where a fissure opens makes a dex save or falls in. A creature that successfully saves moves the fissure's edge as it opens. A fissure that opens beneath a structure causes it to automatically collapse. Additionally, structures. Tremor deals 50 bludgeoning damage to any structure in contact with the ground in the area when you cast the spell and at the start of each of your turns until the spell ends. So 500 damage if you get the whole minute off. If a structure drops to 0 hit points, it collapses, potentially damaging nearby creatures. A creature within half the distance of a structure's height makes a dex save. On a failed save, it takes 5d6 bludgeoning damage, which notably, if a building is falling on you, I would guess it should be more than 5d6 bludgeoning damage, but hey, who am I to judge? It's knocked prone and is buried in the rubble, requiring a DC 20 athletics check to escape. The DM can adjust the DC higher or lower depending on the nature of the rubble. On a successful save, it takes half as much damage, doesn't fall prone, or become buried. I have an important question, and it's why did they include so much text only to have all of this text also say your DM might just make stuff up? Because most of what this is your DM might just make stuff up, right?
This building was made out of razor blades.
That's like, 4-year-old, sorry, 8-year-old playground banter, right? To be like, oh yeah, well, my house is made of razor blades, so you can't come in. That kind of stuff. That's what it feels like to me, at least. Where do you stand on Earthquake? You know, generally, having read my reviews and heard me talk about it in the Druid spell lists, where I stand on this. Where are you at?
I'm not thrilled with it. I mean, for an 8th level spell, unless you need to level some buildings, then I don't know. Almost everything this does, I think you could do better, cheaper.
I agree.
All right, I do
Mostly.
before we get into that, except for leveling buildings. But
Yeah,
I do have one thing I'd like to ask. Now, this might seem stupid,
sure.
but I bet it might come up more than you think. If you really need to break another caster's concentration, but they're pretty close to you, you cast it centered on yourself, you're going to make a concentration check for the spell that you're currently casting, right?
Yeah. If you're in the Earthquake,
But
you are making a save against your own spell save DC to maintain concentration on the effect.
as you know, like this
Assuming you're on the
round,
ground. You
right?
can get around this
But
by
I
being
mean,
flying.
but like, is that immediately as soon as you cast it? So, all right, what I'm asking is, all right, you fail your concentration check, but the earthquake happened. So, does the other spellcaster also have to make a roll?
Yes, everyone makes the roll
Okay.
simultaneously. So the ground
Okay.
in the area becomes difficult terrain. Each creature on the ground that is concentrated makes con save or concentration is broken. Yeah. So whenever you cast this, all of the effects will happen once. If you fail your concentration save and throw to maintain concentration on the effect, all the effects will happen once, and then nothing else will occur.
Okay. That
Because
was my
almost all
question.
the words say when you cast the spell and at the start of your turn is when the effect's
Yeah.
triggered. Notably, if you want to break concentration, Sleep Storm does that. A creature starts a turn in the spell's area, the creature makes a successful con save or loses concentration. Notably, they get to start their turn there, so if you need like a persistent effect to go away right now, Earthquake does it right now, whereas Sleet Storm does at the start of their turn. That's a very small difference. Sleet Storm is also 5 levels lower than it. So, I think you may take that trade-off most of the time. I also, I'm not huge on Sleet Storm. I don't think breaking concentration with no damage is that, I would much rather just hit it and make the con save that way. But there is some benefit to the DC being 18 as opposed to 10. So,
And
well,
there, I mean,
give and take
if they're in a building that collapses, then they might take some damage there.
Yeah,
But
5d6 is what, 14 plus 3.5 is 17.5 damage, so they make a DC 10 con save. So no, it's still the 5d6 blooding damage still doesn't break their concentration better than the save does, for what that's worth.
I'm saying, yeah, that's true.
They usually make 2 saves though, at least, right? So they make the
Yeah.
save whenever for standing on the ground, and then another save whenever they take 5d6 damage. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Sleet Storm has other effects too. I mean, this has similar. They both can knock people prone. That's
Yeah.
I mean, this has a wider radius, but
I think it's fairly apt to compare this to just say this is a giant uppercast Sleet Storm. It's kind of what it feels like, right? It in combat, that's what it feels like. This is a big area of effect, difficult terrain. Sleet Storm is better at locking things down because of the heavy obscurity and because of the knocking things constantly prone. I mean, this also knocks things constantly prone. It's really hard to move around with the difficult terrain and everything like that. Sleet Storm is a much more contained area. You can pretty concisely control what Sleet Storm is affecting, where this is going to level some buildings. So maybe, there'll be situations where you want to level buildings. There'll be situations where you don't want to level buildings. And so when you take Sleet Storm over Earthquake or whatever, comparing a 8th level spell to a 3rd level spell shows some real cracks in this one. And it makes you really have to lean into fissures and the structure damage to want to cast this spell. My review is really critical in that in combat, this is pretty worthless. I think Sleet Storm is going to do what it does better almost always. I do think I've come around to appreciate that there is, when we're looking at 8th level spells, especially prepared 8th level spells, something that has a large world impact does have value in that this gives you an entire different access to confront a problem, right? This is the kind of thing where you go, okay, the villain has a giant evil palace. We're not walking in the front door. We're burning down the front door. We're collapsing it. They're going to come to us because we're going to destroy their house. That is the kind of potential that Earthquake gives you that I do think has genuine value. You also really have to want your DM to engage with Earthquake in fun ways. You have to say, hey, DM, we're in a bunch of varied environments. We're underground. How can I cause a cave-in with the Earthquake? The answer, I would argue, should almost always be yes. Earthquake should have a giant world impact for its slot. If it doesn't, if it just does what's written here, and they really don't lean into the DM text that much, you're going to have a bad time with it.
all right, see, this is where, for the example, the villain in the giant house. I don't like that because I don't want to destroy the house. I want to either occupy it or acquire it and sell it or something.
Sure.
I just think if I'm faced with this situation, I've got 8th level spells. I can teleport in there or something. There are other ways to get in access to this house.
I think this is a tool that gives you a different solution to that problem than invasion does, right? So there are a lot of different ways that you can get in a building. You can get into a location. You can get within the confines of a space. There are not a lot of effects that destroy a space. This is an effect that destroys a space. So when you need to destroy a space, or whenever you want the potential solution of destroying a space, Earthquake fills that role. 500 damage is a lot of damage. 500 damage is a lot of damage structures. Maybe there's an explosive device inside of it and you need to collapse it. Maybe there's such a threatening force within, you do not stand a chance to get in with 8th level magic and deal with it that way. Bringing down the building is a way to get around that problem. Now, those are niche. I'm not saying that's going to be common. But as a prepared caster, specifically for druids, which this is one of their spells, I'm a lot higher on the idea of, we're going into this adventure to this enemy land. We know they got these contents. I prepare Earthquake for this scenario. And in that scenario, nothing else in the game really does what it does. And that has some major points to me.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. That doesn't add many major points to me.
That's fair. I think for the average caster, this is not something you should be regularly preparing, if preparing at all.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. But other things all right, whatever the house is made of, it was made of stone. There's spells that do they have transmute stone to mud in this edition?
I think so, but it's not to the scale that Earthquake is.
No, but I mean, still, that's even better though, because Hey, I'm destroying your house. One 10 cubic foot at a time. Are you gonna come out?
That's like, I'm drawing graffiti on the side of your house. So you better come stop me. It's the vibe I'm getting from that.
That's much more my play style.
That's fair. I'm more of the kind of person that
Whoa.
I want to, and if I'm playing upper deep tier D&D, I want to have left the realm of mundane combat. That's why I don't love martial, and a lot of people don't love martials in the upper tiers, is full casters are playing a completely different game, right? They're doing things with wish, they're doing teleporting things, they're summoning armies, they're abusing simulacrums, they've left the realm of we fight things and we attack it 3 times a turn, and they're doing like, no, I'm destroying those 4 squads of units with my meteor swarm, right? This fits into that game a lot better than it fits into the mundane D&D. And I think that understanding that has helped me sort of appreciate the spell a little bit more for the purpose it serves, and definitely highlights, oh, this doesn't gel at all well with an average adventuring party. This doesn't gel at all well with a group that is playing with martial characters, because it debilitates your martial allies. This is actively detrimental to your paladins and your fighters and things like that. They're going to get knocked pro within the area, they're going to get trapped under rubble and stuff like that, right? Like, this isn't something you can really set up a fight with, which makes it, again, pretty worthless at a lot of tables, but at tables with a bunch of high-powered, high-magic users that are playing the game with Meteor Swarm, with Wish, with animal shapes, Earthquake fits alongside that as a huge world impact tool, not really as a tool that you use to engage a fight with.
All right, so just to be clear, are we only using this for leveling buildings?
Mainly.
Yeah, all right.
So earthquakes also do other things than that are all environment related, right? It can shatter ice, it can cause cave-ins, it can do big environmental damage. And environmental damage can be useful. Now, again, that's going to rely on your DM saying, these rules tell me to do something here, I better do something here. Yeah. If they don't, it gets a lot worse. But this is an effect that's supposed to produce big environmental disaster kind of effects. And that is where it's going to get most of its mileage.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's that. I mean, a lot of this is up to DM's discretion.
Yeah. They really do have, like, here are the rules for it, but your DM might do something different. Here are the rules for this, but your DM can do something different. I'm like, come on.
I don't know what else to do with this spell. It's 8th level. It should do more, but let the DM figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's long enough. The DM will just make it up anyway.
All right, so potential 5d6 damage for an 8th level spell.
5d6 around sometimes. It's bad. You don't use this. I don't think you use this actively in combat all that much. I think this is a 2. I think it goes in exactly the game that is the high magic setting with high magic characters that are affecting more things than fights against dragons. This is more than the party showdown against a villain. This has to be a setting where you are looking to deal with armies, where you're looking to deal with big scope, giant world problems. That is the kind of tool that you would want in your toolbox on those characters. Alternatively, it's something you prepare once in a campaign to make the villains come out of their house or whatever.
Yeah. All right. You're a talented orator, Sam. You have talked me up to a reluctant 2.
Nice. Love to see it.
All right. Yeah, that was Earthquake. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let us know what you think of Earthquake down in the comments. Yeah, I'm betting some people are gonna like this one.
Yeah. It's neat, at least. I have seen this spell actually cast, though, so that's nice. I can't say that for all the level 8 spells.
All right. Well, then thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.